In the heart of Manhattan's elite sanctuary, a shattered harmony reveals a past long buried. A single ring, lost, found, and full of secrets, sets the stage for a mystery that will change everything. Amid Manhattan's pulsating core, Elysium stood as the pinnacle of privilege, a haven where luxury was law and exclusivity the norm. That afternoon, the air carried the rich aroma of exquisite cuisine, mingling with the refined hum of sophisticated chatter. Then, like a crack in a perfect facade, the tranquility was shattered. Through the gleaming glass doors, a man hesitantly stepped inside. His tattered clothes and desperate gaze clashed starkly with the grandeur surrounding him. With a trembling whisper, he pleaded with a stunned waiter for food. Before the waiter could react, the restaurant manager stormed forward, his fury undeniable. "Get out! Now!" he roared, his voice ricocheting off the opulent walls, branding the moment with humiliation. Among the speechless patrons, one man remained frozen, William Anderson. His sharp gaze locked onto something small, yet impossible to ignore. The beggar's finger. A ring. But not just any ring. William's breath hitched. That ring was unmistakable. The very one he had given Emily on her 16th birthday. A token of their unbreakable bond. But Emily had vanished. Years had passed. And now, here it was, wrapped around the finger of a stranger. A silent storm raged within him. Who was this man? How did he have Emily's ring? As the beggar was shoved toward the exit, William's chair scraped against the floor. His unfinished meal forgotten, his world tilting, he pushed forward. "Wait," he called out. "A single ring holds the power to unravel a past long buried. When a desperate man whispers a name, William never thought he'd hear again. The search for Emily begins, a journey into the unknown, where every answer leads to more dangerous questions." William's voice was steady, but beneath it, urgency pulsed like a drumbeat. "Where did you get that ring?" he demanded, his eyes locked onto the small yet powerful object on John's finger. John froze. Fear flickered across his face before recognition softened his expression. He looked down at the ring, then back at William, his voice barely a whisper. "Emily? She gave it to me." William's heart slammed against his ribs. Emily, his daughter, gone without a trace. Could this man, this stranger, hold the key to finding her? "Tell me everything," William pressed, leading John to a nearby bench. "Please, it's important." John took a shaky breath, sorrow and hope warring in his tired eyes. "Emily was kind to me," he began, his voice fragile. "She helped me when no one else would. Before she disappeared, she gave me this ring, told me to keep it safe." A plan formed in William's mind with razor-sharp clarity. He would use every resource at his disposal to find Emily. But he needed John's help. The man hesitated, then nodded, a flicker of determination crossing his face. For Emily, he would do whatever it took. Their search began immediately. Private detectives were hired. Street contacts were activated. Clues led them from dark alleyways to high-rise boardrooms, all pointing toward a small town, Clearwater, a place neither man had ever heard of. This was only the beginning. Ahead lay revelations, dangers, and alliances neither could foresee. As the sun rose over Manhattan the next morning, its golden light washing over the city, William sat at his breakfast table, his routine disrupted for the first time in years. The encounter with John haunted him. That ring, that name, that moment. Emily was out there. And this time, he wouldn't stop until he found her. A father's desperate search, a ring carrying buried secrets, and a town hiding the truth. William and John's journey to Clearwater is more than a mission. It's a race against time. But when they finally find Emily, they realize the real danger is just beginning. "She saw me," John murmured, his voice thick with emotion. When I was just another face in the crowd, she treated me like I mattered. Emily was kind, compassionate. She brought me food, talked to me about her dreams and fears. And then one day, she gave me this ring. He turned it between his fingers, the metal worn but still gleaming. She told me she might have to leave soon. She wanted someone she trusted to keep it safe. William inhaled sharply. Relief, dread. A storm of emotions crashed inside him. Emily was alive. But where? Why had she disappeared? And what had forced her to entrust this man with something so precious? He didn't have time for hesitation. We're going to find her, he said, his resolve solidifying. Together. John nodded, the weight of responsibility in his tired eyes. William had resources, private investigators, deep connections, and wealth. John had something just as valuable, street knowledge, an understanding of the unseen corners of the city where secrets lurked. Their search began immediately. William's team combed through. Emily, he breathed. She turned, and in an instant, her expression shifted from shock to raw emotion. Tears welled in her eyes. Dad! The word barely escaped her lips, trembling, disbelieving. In the next heartbeat, he had her in his arms. Years of uncertainty, grief, and longing melted away in that single embrace. Nearby, John watched, a quiet satisfaction in his gaze. Emily turned to him, recognition flickering in her tearful eyes. John, she whispered, a grateful smile forming. I knew you would keep the ring safe. As they settled into a corner of the shop, Emily's voice grew serious. The truth had been buried for too long. It was time to unearth it. She had fled Manhattan for a reason that could still put them all in danger. The antique shop had been Emily's sanctuary, a place where she could blend into the quiet rhythm of small-town life, far from the chaos and fear that had once controlled her. But she had never truly felt safe. The past had always lurked in the shadows, waiting to pull her back in. She traced the ring on John's finger with a bittersweet smile. I gave it to you because I needed someone to remember me if something happened, she admitted. Clearwater gave me peace, but I always knew it wouldn't last. William's jaw tightened. The weight of lost years pressed on him, but there was no time for regret. You don't have to run anymore, he said, his voice firm. We'll find a way to end this. John nodded, his gaze steady. We got you this far, Emily. We're not letting anything happen to you now. A plan took shape. William would use his power, his influence, whatever it took, to secure her safety. Meanwhile, Emily and John would gather the evidence needed to take down the people who had forced her into hiding. As they stepped out of the shop, the weight of uncertainty hung in the air. They had come so far, yet the hardest part was still ahead. The shadows they had been running from were closer than ever. The next morning, Clearwater stirred awake under the golden hues of dawn. Emily unlocked the antique shop, savoring the illusion of normalcy for just a moment. The soft jingle of the bell above the door was comforting, but then the voice sent a chill down her spine. She turned to find Sarah, the private investigator who had found her. The usual warmth in her eyes was gone, replaced by an urgency that made Emily's heart pound. William and John arrived just as Sarah shut the door behind them. Her expression was grave. They know, she said. The people who were after you. They've picked up your trail again. A sharp silence filled the room. Emily swallowed hard. How close are they? Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line. Too close. Fear curled in Emily's stomach, but it didn't paralyze her. She wasn't alone anymore. She looked at William, at John, at the people who had fought to bring her back. We have to move, Sarah continued, now, before it's too late. The sanctuary of Clearwater had shattered. The fight they had been avoiding had finally arrived. Their operations unraveled like a long-buried secret finally brought to light. The authorities uncovered a web of corruption, revealing just how far the criminals' influence had reached. Their arrest was only the beginning. Testimonies, hidden records, and evidence gathered by Sarah and her contacts painted a damning picture. Emily, though still shaken, felt a newfound sense of freedom. For the first time in years, she wasn't looking over her shoulder. Clearwater, the town that had once been her hiding place, had become a symbol of resilience and community. The people who had stood by her, John, William, Sarah, and the town's residents, had proven that she wasn't alone. William, seeing his daughter safe, knew their battle wasn't over. He vowed to use his influence to ensure justice was served and that the criminals would never again wield their power over innocent lives. But beyond that, he wanted something more, for Emily to finally have a life without fear. John, ever loyal, remained by Emily's side. He had found not only purpose in helping her, but also a family he hadn't known he needed. "You kept the ring safe," Emily told him one evening, holding it gently, "and now you helped keep me safe too." As the days passed, Emily made a choice. She wouldn't run anymore. She had spent too long in the shadows, and now it was time to live. With William's unwavering support and John's steadfast friendship, she began to rebuild, embracing the future that had once seemed impossible. Clearwater, the small town that had once been her refuge, had now become her home. And as she stood at the threshold of a new chapter, she knew, this time, she was ready to face whatever came next. Not in fear, but with hope.